Hello everyone, welcome to the learning journey of segment routing basic to advanced. This is the TI-LFA series and this is our second video on this. The first video we have talked about LFA. In this video we will be talking about remote LFA, and then finally in the final video we will be talking about TI-LFA. If you have watched the part 1, so this is basically the evolution path that LFA, from there we came to RLFA and finally to the TI-LFA. So LFA is covered in great detail in part 1. Today we will look at why in the first place we needed remote LFA, and then how does this work. Basically the concept of the P space and the Q space, which is a bit confusing as well, but I will try my level best to highly simplify that. And then we will look at some of the shortcomings of remote LFA that had actually led to the invention of TI-LFA. So with that, the topic for this second part of the video is remote LFA. And let's just start with the introduction. And before that, let's just take our same analogy that we have talked earlier, that let's say that you are traveling on some highways during a rainy season and there is some cloud burst that had happened and there are waterlogging in certain areas of that highway. So what the police or the traffic cops will do, they will simply block that stretch and they advise the commuters or the travelers on that road to take a alternate path. So the same thing this cop will tell you as well, to take this path which will meet at a certain point to the main road which you are taking, and then from here onwards you can continue your journey on the natural path. This was something that we had seen in our LFA journey as well. But let's just add some twist to it. Let's just see that if there is a path exists like this as well. So when this person, this gentleman tells you to take this path and you start going on this, when you reach at this point, now basically there are two paths that exist, path number 1 and path number 2. And if you take the path number 1, then you will end up into the trouble, or probably more trouble, because there may not be anybody here to warn you and you ultimately need to come back and continue on this path. Whereas if somebody is there, let's say a local person who just tell you to take this path, then basically you are good to go with it. So here this gentleman that I'm talking, he is the neighbor. It's not directly connected. He is connected somewhere in this chain, and he just warns you that don't take path number 1, take path number 2, and then you just continue your journey and meet somewhere on the main road itself. So what I'm trying to say here, in case of LFA, your directly connected neighbor was more than enough to advise you on an alternate path. But as we had seen that doesn't work all the time. So if you have a topology like this, I will come to the network part as well, but if you have something like this, probably another neighbor's neighbor, here this gentleman who can also advise you to take the path number 2 always help. And once we take this road, then we are on our natural path following just this road and meet on our main road. So in this analogy, what I want you to remember is here the neighbor. So this guy is my neighbor, let's say, because he's sitting here telling me to take this path. But neighbor's neighbor is also telling me and advising to take a path so that I don't end up in more trouble by taking this path. And we will come to this neighbor's neighbor point in remote LFA. So let's just hold that thought. And before I leave this slide, there is one more point that I want you guys to remember, and I will touch base that again. Let's say that there can be certain roads here also, right? Now, out of these, let's say just name these as 3, 4, and 5. Now, by looking at this, you can either take this 3, or you can take 4, or you can take 5. Any of these paths you will meet on this main road, and then you can continue towards your destination. But by looking at this, if you take this path named as 3, then basically you are meeting the highway early than taking the path number 4 and 5. And these are, by the way, local roads. They are not that good as this one. So your tendency is to catch this highway just by avoiding this part as soon as possible. I repeat, you want to catch the highway again just by leaving this part because this was the problematic stretch, and then once you cross this you want to meet on the main highway as soon as possible because you have paid the toll, so you have all the rights to use this good road. So third is always advisable path, that is the shortest which take you to the main road. Why I told you this, I will come back to this point as well in the later part of our video. So two things from this: one, neighbor's neighbor, and then this analogy that I had explained you here. And we will connect these dots in the later part of this video. So with that analogy said, the classic LFA, as we had seen that if we are having a topology like this and I'm trying to protect this link, so 2 will ask the immediate neighbor, which is 6, that can you provide me a protection path for my destination 5. But 6, high chances that it sends the traffic like this towards 5. That means it does not provide a loop free alternate. That means LFA failed in this topology to provide you a backup. But can RLFA solve this problem? Can RLFA help me out in this topology? That is what we will see in this video. So, but before that, first let's just understand why there was a need for a remote LFA. And I think this is clear now because your neighbor sometime are not able to help you out. Your directly connected neighbor sometime may not help you out to find a loop free alternate. So what you basically do, you ask your neighbor's neighbor, right? In our previous analogy, the traffic cop has directed us towards a local road, but then there was neighbor's neighbor who had told us not to take path 1, take path 2, right? So it was neighbor's neighbor who had solved my problem. So remote LFA, because LFA cannot always be found. So there are cases where a directly connected neighbor, in this case, the slide that I had shown, 6 cannot help me out to reach destination without traversing the protected link. So this is important. 6 was sending the traffic back to 2 and 2 to 3, whereas I am trying to protect the link between 2 and 3. So that's where this RFC 7490 introduced Remote LFA. And I highly encourage you guys, if you want to understand how does Remote LFA work, now I will be explaining it in certain pieces. This is the document that you can look, which is freely available. So Remote LFA, the neighbor's neighbor, basically when they are helping me out, the protection coverage is expanded. So in Remote LFA, what we do basically, so we ask our neighbor's neighbor, which are sometimes these virtual LFAs, and these LFAs are nothing but just the remote nodes that act as a release point. And the definition of release point is, if I am able to reach this release point, after that I just need to follow the regular path. For example, in our analogy, if I take the path number 2, after that I just need to follow the regular path. There are no chances in the networking context that the packet traverses the protected link or loop back. And don't worry if this is something not clear as of now. I will take an example as well, and then we will look what these release points are. So now let's just understand how does this RLFA works, right? And now we are talking about the networking only. So basically the PLR node, the point of local repair, have to steer the traffic towards that RLFA node, basically that remote release point from the previous slide. This PLR, the point of local repair, has to send the traffic to this node. And once the traffic reaches to this node, it basically follow the natural SPF path. For now, just ignore this point that need to be done via some tunneling mechanism. I will come back to this point. But how does basically we find this RLFA node? While the detailed explanation you can look in that RFC document, but to find a RLFA node, basically this PLR node, right? If we take a topology example here, let's say this is the topology, and this is, let's say, my PLR node, and I'm trying to protect this link. What this guy will do is it will try to find certain nodes in the network which this guy can reach without using this link. I repeat, PLR, the point of local repair, basically try to find certain nodes in the network which this guy can reach without using this protected link. And the nodes that it can reach are basically the nodes in the P space. So the shortest path from the PLR to the RLFA node must not traverse the protected component. I should not use this link and then I just try to find certain node which I can reach, like this one and this one, right? But if I try to reach this one here, then this path itself is shorter. So this is my P space. And from this node, the path to the destination, if I can reach, let's say this is my final destination, and if I come back to this node, I'm just taking an example that if I come to this node, from here I can follow this natural path to reach my destination and know where I am using this protected link. So this is my QLFA node. So there are two parts: from PLR to this intermediate node, that is your P space, and from that intermediate node towards your final destination is your Q space. And how basically you find out these, if I clear this ink, so the P space is basically the shortest path from the PLR to a node that must not traverse via the protected component, because if it is using that protected component, then there is no point, right? We are trying to find a alternate path that can be used when this link fail, and this has to be calculated in advance. I have talked about this LFA, the purpose, in the part 1. So you may watch that if this is something that doesn't make sense to you guys. But this P space, Q space, this LFA path has to be calculated in advance. And then once I find the node in the P space, then I look for a remote LFA candidate where if I leave the packet, then it go to the destination, and then as well must not traverse the protected component. Don't worry if you are able to get only 25% at this point, because I have some more content on P and Q, and then at the end we will also look at an example that should probably clear this concept. So basically the P space. If I talk about P space, the P space are the set of nodes, these upper nodes, let's say these nodes, where if I send the traffic, the P space are the nodes which this PLR can reach without using this link, right? So all those set of nodes, let's say 1, 2, I will put in my P space. And this PLR, and then this is the important point, this PLR can reach to these nodes in his P space irrespective of the state of this link, whether this link is up, this link is down, I don't even care. These P space node I can always reach without using this link. That is my P space. And one more thing here, that if I can find certain node in my P space, let's say this is my P space, and then this guy's neighbor, let's say here this node is 2, this guy's neighbor is in the P space of this one. So my neighbor's neighbor P space, that node also I can go with the help of my directly connected neighbor, and that is basically the extended P space. Basically one is my P space and then my neighbor's P space. If I take the union of those two, that basically called as extended P space. Why we need extended P space? Basically because that give us more alternative for RLFA node. What is that RLFA node? It is that release point where if we send the traffic from there, it will go to the destination. Now this example that I have drawn, it may not be clear, but I will come to this extended P space also with a very good example towards the end of this video. So if I clear the ink and show you the definition on the slide, the PLR, the point of local repair, can reach the nodes in the neighbor's P space as well. So one is my P space and then one is the neighbor's P space as well. This neighbor P space and the PLR P space is called as extended P space, and this is important. So I will come back to this point with an example as well, as I said repeatedly. But before that, let's just look at the Q space. So Q space, as I said, but nothing but again the set of nodes that satisfy the second criteria. What was the second criteria? A node is in the Q space if the shortest path from that node to reach the destination does not traverse via that protected link. Right? So if I take the same example, let's say this one is a vague example, but I will come with a better as well. Right? Let's say if I send the traffic to this node, I'm trying to protect this node. Then from here, it can directly go to the destination. It will not come back to this protected link, and that way I can find a remote neighbor which can help if this link failed. So the queue space, the set of node satisfying the second criteria, and what is that? A node n is in the queue space if n shortest path to the final destination avoid this protected link. Right? So we have P space, we have Q space. P space, PLR can reach without using this protected link. Q space, node can reach to the destination without using this protected link. I repeat, P space, PLR can reach those nodes without using protected link. Q space, the node in the Q space can reach to the destination without using this protected link. So I need to find a node which is called a PQ node, and that node is something where if I send the packet, then it will be sent to my final destination, and that can act as a backup. So if I clear this ink and let's just go to the next slide, that is the PQ node. So in the extended P space and the Q space, there is some overlap, and I will show that. In that, basically, the remote LFA which satisfy both the P is from PLR to this node, and Q like from that node to the destination. So it is basically the intersection of P and Q space and can be called as PQ node. And in case of a protected link failure, all this PLR need to do is just to steer the packet to this PQ node, and from this PQ node the packet can reach to the destination on its natural shortest path. And then if you go back to that previous analogy where I had shown that okay, this is the main road, but from here there were multiple roads that were meeting to this main road, but it is advisable that you meet the main road as soon as possible because this is a very good road. Same way, if there are multiple RLFA that exist, it is recommended to select the closest from the PLR, like this one. I want to get onto my natural path as soon as possible so that I can use or utilize the better load balancing from my RLFA to the destination, right? So now there might be some loosely coupled points. Let's just look at one example and see how does this work. This is the topology that I had shown you at the start of this video as well, where LFA, the first iteration of this evolution, was not able to provide protection. So if this link failed and my directly connected neighbor is 6, but if I send the traffic to 6, chances are 6 will send it back to me, because from 6 the path is 2, 3 and 5. Let's say this is my destination, or 2, 6, 7, 3, 5, right? So there was chances that half of the traffic will get lost. But before I get into the technical aspect of it, just think that if somehow to send the traffic to 7, from 7 the shortest path to reach 5 does not traverse via this protected link, and I am reaching my destination. So all I need to do is send the traffic to 7. But now let's just go with the explanation that I had given you. So first of all, from 2, let's just find our P space, the P nodes. So 1 is basically my P node because I am not using this link. And from 2, I can also reach to 6 without using this protected link. But from 2, can I reach to 7? Maybe not, because 2, 3, 7 is the path. So 7 is not in the direct P space of 2. Then we calculate the extended P space. The extended P space is my neighbor's P space. So from 6, I can reach to 7 without using this protected link, because I will use this path. So from 6 perspective, 7 is in its P space. Now let's just look further. 3 is in the P space. From 6, I go via 2 and 3, and 2 and 3 is the link which I want to protect. So 3 is not even in the P space of the neighbor as well. So only 7 is the node which is satisfying that criteria. So in the 2's extended P space, it is 6 and 7. So I write here, if I take extended P space, right, plus P space, the nodes that are there in this topology are 6 and 7. I'm leaving 8 for now just to make this illustration better. So 6 and 7 are the node. Now let's just calculate the Q space. Q space is a node from where you can reach to the destination without traversing the protected link. So if I look at 7, from 7 if I need to reach 5, this is the path, right? So if I see 7 basically meet that criteria, that if from here to reach destination 5, I am not using this protected link. That means 7 is a part of Q space as well, right? So does 8 also, or 3 as well, right? So now if I draw with red, let's say this is my P space, and if I take another color here, this is my Q space. So now I need to find a PQ node, and that also should be closer to the PLR. So in this case, this node is 7. So now I need to send the traffic to 7, and then I can basically leave the packet here. It's a natural release point, and packet will go to destination 5. Right? So now if you understand this concept, here how I will send the packet from 2 to 7 when link between 2 to 3 fail. Right? You may be thinking that I can send to 6 and then 6 will anyway send it to 7 because 2 to 3 the link is down. But remember, here what we are trying to do, we are trying to calculate a LFA, loop free alternate path, when this link is up. Right? IGP will converge at certain speed, but we want to converge faster in 50 milliseconds. So if I send the packet to 6 will send it back to me, because from 6 to reach 5, when this link is up, there are these two paths that exist. So I need to send the packet to 7, which is my PQ node, even when 6 is still converging. That convergence will take time. So I need to basically tunnel the traffic to 7, and once it is on 7, packet can come out of this tunnel and take this natural path. So this is how basically the MPLS forwarding works. So what I need to do here is I need to have this targeted LDP session. And I have also talked about some of the MPLS forwarding aspects in some other videos. Feel free to explore those. But here from PLR, we need to have this targeted LDP session to 7, and from 7 it will reach to 5. So the answer to our question is, can remote LFA provide protection in this topology? The answer to that is yes, via this targeted LDP session with the help of this PQ node. So RLFA extend the coverage because LFA was not able to provide protection in this, and this basically provide 99% of the coverage for backbone. So LFA to RLFA, the convergence saw a significant jump with 99% in certain topologies. So what is the conclusion? The conclusion is, though RLFA improve the convergence, but it still lacks some optimality. What is this? I will explain in the third part of this video, which is TI-LFA. And then remember what I said, it provides 99% coverage. It is still not 100% coverage guarantee that you get with LFA plus RLFA. So what is the solution? The solution is this. So we will look at TI-LFA in our third part. So I hope this was informative. Any questions, put in the comment box, and thank you so much for viewing.